Welcome to EduRev.
Friends, today we are going to see in this lecture of art and culture, we're going to see about the most sought after topic of art and culture, which is going to be the Indus Valley Civilization. So essentially, if you take a note of it, we are going to start with Indian architecture. We are starting with the Indian architecture part, and later on we'll be moving on to Indian religion and so on and so forth. So yes, of course, today we are going to see about IVC. In particular, we're going to see about the topic of town planning in Indus Valley civilization. After which we'll be moving on to the religion, to the script, to the various seals, weights and measures. How did the IVC end and so on. So holistically, the entire history part of it will also be covered in this particular heading because it is impossible to divide IVC into art and culture alone from the historical perspective. So let us read it together in this particular lecture series, starting with the very first thing, Indian architecture, a quick introduction. So this entire civilization that has spanned before us, it is almost at least 4,500 years old, and it has left, the architecture has left its impact on nearly everything in the Indian cultural life. So the earliest and the most remarkable evidence of Indian architecture that is viewed in the cities of Harappan civilization. Not just that, post the Harappan period, we had the beautiful architectural styles which got influenced by the religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and so on. And the medieval periods, they actually started this feeling of synthesis of different cultures of Persian and indigenous styles of architecture, and thereafter we had the colonial period as well. Now, how did this evolution of civilization come into picture? For that, let us try to give it a graphical representation. First thing started with being nomadic style. The early humans, they led a nomadic life in the beginning. They attempted to cultivate, and when they attempted to cultivate, naturally it led to a settlement form of community living. And they stayed for a very long time in the same place till the process of harvesting gets over. So it was more of a sedentary lifestyle began to get evolved, and this later on led to the formation of society, which after this scientific evolution, after your trade ties coming into picture, we call what is known as civilization. The highest standards of living of a human race refers to a civilized society. So this is the evolution of civilization. So right now we are in the process of learning about the Indus Valley civilization. So any civilization have to cross this particular cycle. And what in particular the Indian architecture contributes to culture, that also you need to understand. See, Indian architecture was not a modern phenomena. It began to grow as soon as early caveman architecture came into picture. So even when this entire civilization was spanning, which wherein we are talking about somewhere close to 3300 to 1300 BC, it is in that time period. Even when we are talking about that time period of Indus Valley civilization, we still have a huge impact of the architecture upon the culture, and we still get to know a lot of things from those rich traditions. Hence, the study of architecture, to put very simply, it reveals to us the cultural diversities and help us understand the rich traditions of India. Now, coming to IVC, yes, of course, this is one of the oldest and the longest surviving civilization. The term IVC, it is also referred to as the Harappan civilization, and it was first coined by John Marshall. Now, who's John Marshall? There are certain harbingers towards the excavation of the Indus Valley. Harbingers of excavation, meaning the ones who were the pioneers of excavation. They were great Indologists who supported this kind of excavation. And there were others also, many archaeologists who led to this kind of excavation. And one such archaeologist was John Marshall. Now, he led an excavation team in the years of 1921-22 to find out something like IBC existed. Now, apart from John Marshall, one another important name which must get mentioned when you talk about IBC is Wheeler, Mortimer Wheeler. He's another very, very important person. So, two important archaeologists who is very profound, who has done a very profound studies with regard to IBC. One is John Marshall and the other one is Mortimer Wheeler. And another thing is Bronze Age. Yes, bronze was extensively used during this point of time, and hence this time period was also referred to as Bronze Age. And something that is very important is the characteristics of IVC. So there are some, we'll be actually learning it under these headings. We'll be learning it as point number 1, 2, 3 and so on, because then it'll be easier for you to remember and it'll be easier for you to recall in the examination. So the first thing that we are going to read about is urban growth. One of the important features of the IBC is the development of such beautiful urban centers and cities. Because after its extinction, such an advanced city, it came into existence only after 1,000 years later, only when the emperors came into picture. So such is the importance, such is the achievement that has been contributed by IBC. So there have been many important urban centers, and look at the map here. We have certain important centers which is being marked here. And those centers like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro and Kot Diji falls under Pakistan, whereas the regions like Banawali, Rakhigarhi and Kalibangan, Dholavira, Lothal, so these are the things which fall under the place of India. And coming to the next important topic, political structure. Now, there have been numerous theories, and two important theories have been listed out. Understand something, what actually existed, what is the political condition that existed during that point of time is non-conclusive. People have not yet proved as to what sort of political structure existed during that point of time. So these are just theories, non-conclusive theories. The first theory is that maybe there might have been a theocratical structure. They might have been governed by a theocratical structure. That's one theory. And what is theocracy? Theocracy is nothing but it is a form of government in which a religious institution, be it anything, a religious body, a religious scripture, that rules the entire society. It is from that religious entity the whole authority derives its power from. So it might have been such a political structure. The second theory says that it might have been an oligarchical state. What is oligarchy? Oligarchy is a form of power structure where the power is actually concentrated in the hands of a selective few. It can be the aristocrats. It can be the church. It can be some powerful entity of educators. It can be some other powerful group of military. It can be some other powerful group of rich people. So these small group of people comprising of certain classes of military, of rich, of the aristocrats. So when they hold the power, you call it to be an oligarchical state. And these are the two theories which are running about with regard to the political structure, but no conclusive theories have been found yet. The third important point is with regard to town-free planning. By far, this is something that is very, very important. There have been two divisions of the towns in general. The first thing was a citadel. This is the citadel. This is the picture of the citadel. And then you have a lower town. Now the citadel, watch from the picture that is given here, it is constructed, it is a very small structure and it is constructed on a higher platform. It is constructed on a higher portion which is built on an upraised platform with walls fortifying it from all the sides. So maybe it was believed that people from the rich, people from the aristocratic circles might have had this as their place of residence. And this was also used for buildings of large dimensions, such as holding granaries, or maybe some administrative buildings could have been there. So these are some of the essentials. These might have been used for these purposes also. So this is with regard to one portion of the town, and by far, because it is placed on an upright platform with fortifying walls, it was considered to be a very important building. And the next part is your lower town. This lower town was much larger in size than your citadel, and perhaps it is thought that uh, they occupied, or they were occupied by the working class people, and in certain extent, to a certain extent, it was also walled from sides, which meant that probably to keep the floods away, such walls might have been raised. But again, these are just theories. And another thing is, take a look at the figure that we have. There have been certain cases where you have some double-storied buildings. You had some stairs, that is evident. When people started excavating, they actually found the stairs. And then it has been assumed that maybe there could have been some double-storied buildings in the lower town area. So try to remember this small point which is given in the figure. And the fourth important point is the drainage system. Yes, of course. How can you forget the drainage system when you're talking about IBC? Because by far the most important thing with IBC is its town planning and the drainage system. Now, each house had its own private drinking well and bathroom, which was well connected with the drains. So there were proper drains, there were proper networked drains, that is the keyword. There was a main drain which was connected to the sub drains, and these sub drains, it actually led to the homes, and from there onwards, whatever the wastewater came, it was, or it fell into the main drain. So there was a well networked drainage system. Each house had its own private well, and each house had its own bathroom. The water from these bathrooms, they ran through the clay pipes, this is important, into the underground drains which ran into the main drain. So what is important here? There was a network of drainage system. Point number two, that there was underground drainage system. And take a look at the pictures that we have. We have a private well picture, and we also have pictures of the earliest excavated toilets of the Harappan system. And these main drains, they were made up of bricks, and they had very large cross sections. So that to accommodate a very large water flow. Even a large water flow could be accommodated when you have a large cross section. Take a look at the picture. It shows the very large drainage system that is present there. The above features, it is indicative of the following. That is, the advancement in the municipal system, the importance that is attached to the social and the personal hygiene, proper town planning, and brick and mortar construction. So all that the Harappans, they had excellent knowledge of. Moving on to the next one, the Great Bath. Some of the important features you got to mention when you are writing your mains answer, and one such feature is the Great Bath. So an important feature of the Harappan city is the prevalence of public bath, and it also suggests how important is this ritualistic cleaning for the Harappans. That is also suggested here. Another thing that I meant to mention here is, when you talk about the Great Bath, you have to talk about the engineering acumen. As in, there has been absolutely no creaks or no leaks, that is, no cracks or no leaks that is found in the Great Bath, which shows the intelligence of the people who have constructed such an intelligent bathing system. It is so perfectly crafted that people are still in awe of this such a structure. And the most famous example of the Great Bath is the one that is found in Mohenjo-daro. So the picture here suggests the Great Bath which is found in Mohenjo-daro, and it is rectangular in shape. And not just that, It has got two wide staircases on the northern and the southern side. So this one that you observe here, this is one such staircase. This is one such staircase. Take a look at that also. And the next thing that we are going to see is domestic house planning. So the domestic house planning, mainly three buildings are usually found there. The first one is the dwelling houses, the second is public buildings, and the third one is public baths. So these are the repetitive structures that you can find here. Coming to the first point of view, that is the street structure. First thing that we are going to read is street structure. This is very, very important. The streets are actually connected at right angles to one another. The streets are aligned or generally oriented from north to the south, with the connecting streets connecting them from east and west. The main streets are connected mainly from north to south, which are actually quite wider in their nature. The streets, along with the efficient underground drainage system, it shows that everything have been properly planned, because you cannot construct houses first of all and then go upon laying roads and drainage system. That's not the way it is actually done. That should not be the way it should be actually done. Rather, you should have a proper planning. Now, the way the Harappan structures have been found, certain things can be understood. The first thing is they had a proper plan and they envisioned where we have to have the drainage pipes, where we should be having the roads, and after envisioning all of it, they have constructed the houses. Take a look at point number 2 here. The streets, along with the efficient drainage system, seems to have been constructed first of all, and later on the houses have been constructed. They were built around them. That's the key word here. They have been built around them, indicating existence of advanced town planning. And the next thing that we are going to read about is the bricks used. Of course, you need to know that they are, so they have well baked bricks or burnt bricks that was used, and then they were joined together using gypsum mortar. So take a look at this particular picture that you have here. It actually, when you take a closer look at the picture, you can see the bricks are joined, they are cemented using the gypsum. So that is the gypsum mortar construction. So take a look at that particular picture also. And these bricks, they were of very standard sizes. They were they had a very specific ratio to them, in the ratio of 4:2:1, and this was employed in all the settlements of this particular culture. And the next one is structure of the houses. The houses were also constructed along the roads and the drains. So remember, they were planned first, the roads and the drains, they were planned first, and they got constructed first. And each of the houses, it is centered around a courtyard. It is centered around a courtyard. So this courtyard could be the center of many household activities. Not just that, this courtyard could even now be witnessed in many of the South Indian houses in the villages could actually have such a courtyard around which most of the buildings, most of the bedrooms, the kitchens, everything would be situated. So such a resemblance of the early Indus Valley civilization houses could be witnessed even now. And each house, as we have mentioned before, they had a separate bathroom, they had a private wells to themselves, and finally the great granary. This also we need to remember. So this was a large warehouse type structure that was present at Harappa, and this is referred to as the great granary, which is used for storage of grains. So this is another very, very important structure. And finally, as a practice question, we have one question. This was asked in UPSC CSE Prelims of 2011. Regarding the Indus Valley civilization, consider the following statements. Take a look at this statement. Try to find the answer here, because this is actually quite a simple question. It was predominantly a secular civilization. That is absolutely true. The religious element, though present, it did not dominate the scene. Of course, that's true, because though it was present, the Harappan people, they were not mainly focusing upon the religious elements. So that's perfectly correct. It did not dominate the scene. Look at how the words have been used here. During this period, cotton was used for manufacturing textile in India. That's also true. Cotton was actually used very much. So here the correct answer is C, both 1 and 2. So such kind of questions also we'll be seeing along with the lectures. And for more of such questions, visit the EduRev Infinity platform where there is more than 10,000 plus questions and more videos prepared by UPSC experts. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Thank you.